Before anyone knew her name, guests started complaining that their showers were weak and their tap water tasted wrong. Maintenance went to check the tanks, climbed a short ladder, opened a hatch, and the city's most disturbing mystery looked back. How does a solo trip turn into this? How do you reach a place no guest should reach? And why did the elevator act like it was stalling for time? It's February in downtown Los Angeles, the kind of cold that hides in concrete and glass. The Cecil Hotel stands on Main Street like a relic that never learned how to die. Its neon pulse a tired promise to anyone who checks in. At the front desk, a young traveler from Vancouver writes her name with careful letters, Elisa Lam, 21. She is the kind of person who photographs stairwells for their geometry, who leaves long thoughts online like messages in bottles, who calls home almost every day because distance feels lighter when it is measured in voices. She carries medication in a weekly pill box and a journal with the kind of honesty you only use when you think no one else will read it. She comes to California to collect a better version of herself. For a week, the days behave. She visits bookstores, posts on Tumblr, sends small dispatches to the future. She writes about loneliness like it's weather, passing, survivable. She changes rooms after a misunderstanding with hostile-style roommates who say she acted strangely. Staff move her to a single and make a note that will later feel heavier than it did that night. Outside the hotel, Los Angeles goes about its business, sirens, skid rows, roof lines, and the bright late open eyes of a city that never quite sleeps. On January 31st, the last day anyone can place her with confidence, a camera on the hotel's fourth-floor elevator records 2 minutes that will become an internet ritual. The doors open. Elisa steps in and presses a row of buttons fast, as if being decisive will make the building hurry. The doors refuse to close. She leans into the hallway, snaps back, presses more buttons, slides against the panel like she needs to be both inside and invisible. Her hands move in soft arcs, fingers describing shapes that look like a language we don't speak. She steps out again, small, quick, half playful, half afraid, and the elevator just sits there with its mouth open like a held breath. Then she's gone, and half a minute later, the car finally moves. Proof that machines answer rules, not panic. When the video goes public days later, it becomes a screen people can project their certainty onto. Some slow it down and insist it's edited, that frames are missing, that the timestamp hiccups. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Some say she's hiding from someone just out of frame. Some say she's playing. Some say her hands are arguing with her mind. And anyone who has negotiated with their own brain in public recognizes the choreography. The clip makes more detectives than evidence ever will. Her parents don't get their usual call that night. When another day passes with silence, they phone the LAPD. Officers search the hotel. They find her belongings in the room, clothes, toiletries, medication, her laptop. No forced entry, no note, no obvious story. Cadaver dogs sweep the hallways and the roof and come up with nothing they can swear to. The building's history becomes a character people audition for. Suicides in the 1930s, a serial killer in the 1980s. A gravity of rumor you can feel in the tile. But buildings don't kill people. Choices, chemicals, and bad minutes do. 2 weeks later, guests complain about water pressure, about the taste, about a color they cannot name without making a face. A maintenance worker climbs to the roof to check the tanks. 4 cylinders stand in a row on a platform above the stairwell bulkhead. He climbs a short ladder, unlatches a steel hatch, and looks down into a dark circle that smells like metal and chlorine and something that doesn't belong. For an instant, he thinks he's watching a coat turn in slow water. Then the coat has hair. He calls out with a voice that does not sound like his own. When they recover her, Elisa is nude in the reservoir. Her clothes, watch, and room key are on the bottom like offerings the water didn't accept. There are no obvious signs of assault. There is water in her lungs. There are superficial bruises consistent with the tank environment. Toxicology will later show her prescribed medications, some present at lower than therapeutic levels, one reportedly absent, alcohol minimal, no illicit drugs. The coroner will rule accidental drowning, with bipolar disorder listed as a significant condition. The document is brief, the questions are not. Because the accident story needs to cross a roof. The roof door is supposed to be locked and alarmed. Staff say you need a key. Others say the alarm is temperamental. The fire escape is the other way up. Openable windows on certain floors. A ladder of black iron that makes bravery look like a teenager. The platform at the top is not kind after dark. The tank hatch is heavy. Police will later say they found it open when the body was discovered. Some say then she couldn't have closed it from inside. Others answer the worker said it was already open. The elevator doors wouldn't close. Someone discovers that on some models, the door hold button can keep the car waiting for minutes. People demonstrate this on YouTube like a sacrament. They want the building to confess. What remains is a pressure that to equalize the gap between what we can prove and what we believe. In that gap, theories bloom, some plausible, some cruel, some looking for monsters because it is easier to fear a person than a minute you can control. The official narrative is spare, an episode on a bad night, a roof reachable by someone determined, a hatch found open, a tank that became a trap. The human narrative is messy, a mind that sometimes misfires, a hotel that doesn't care, a city that will not catch you if you fall. And still, if you stand on that roof in your imagination, the wind presses your jacket like a hand, and the ladder to the platform looks taller than it is. The hatch lip is cold. The water is darker than you think water can be. There is no camera. There is no witness. There is only you and a decision that will sound unreasonable to everyone else forever. This is where part 1 leaves you, with an elevator that wouldn't close, a roof with rules no one can agree on, a tank that explains everything and nothing, and a family on a plane to Los Angeles to ask strangers for their daughter back. The police rebuild the week hour by hour, January 26th, check-in, January 27 to 30, bookstores, snapshots, blog entries, with the tone of someone narrating hope and doubt in equal measure. January 31st, the elevator. After that, the calendar goes static. Staff can't place her. Roommates are no longer roommates. A clerk remembers her outfit, but not the day. Los Angeles is a place where missing time can hide in plain sight. The Cecil's security chief gives detectives a map of the system. Cameras in the lobby, in some halls, near exits, none on the roof. The roof door is supposed to scream if opened without a key. Records show no alarm event in the window that matters. A maintenance man says the alarm is moody. Another says the door was locked like always. Both can be true depending on the night. There is a window on a mid-floor that opens onto the fire escape. Teenagers have tagged the brick around it. A person could slip out there without tripping anything except a personal threshold. The climb to the tanks is short in daylight and endless in the dark. Investigators examine the tank lids. On this model, each hatch is a rectangular leaf of steel that pivots up and over like a heavy book. Some versions have hasps for padlocks, others rely on gravity and habit. The worker who found Elisa says the hatch was open. He would not have opened it otherwise. That sentence wears a lot of weight. If it was open, she didn't have to close it after falling in. Skeptics counter that someone else must have opened it. But why open it and leave? Why open it and not close it? Why any of this? The autopsy speaks in a language that refuses drama. Superficial bruising on the knee and shin, small areas that could be from contact with the tank ladder or the hatch frame. No broken hyoid, no defensive wounds. No signs of sexual assault. Water in the lungs, sufficient to support drowning as the physiological event. Toxicology suggests she had not taken every dose of her meds in recent days. To a forensic pathologist, this sketch supports an episode that led to risk. To the internet, it looks like a conspiracy dressed as restraint. The elevator video remains a Rorschach test. People insist someone is standing outside the frame. Others notice the warping of the stainless door makes her own foot look like someone else's. People swear they see a second shadow. Others point to the elevator's interior lighting. Some catch that she presses buttons low on the panel in a pattern that resembles the door hold, and think she accidentally trapped herself in a 2-minute wait. Others say the footage is edited. Why the jump? Why the blur? The LAPD never publishes a director's commentary. They show the tape, ask for help identifying her, and get 1 million views and 1 million certainties instead. Her family arrives. The hotel becomes a set piece and a crime scene and a newsstand headline. Reporters interview residents who talk about the building's vibe because vibe is easier than design flaws. True crime channels narrate the elevator footage like a seance. A musician who once filmed a dark video in the building years earlier is harassed for months by people who confuse coincidence with confession. The internet is a machine that converts grief into content. Once it is on, it does not turn off. Inside the LAPD, the working theory does not change quickly. No evidence of homicide, no suspects, no credible leads indicating an assault. They look for anyone who might have followed her, question staff, check key logs, find nothing that holds. They examine her laptop, notes to self, posts and drafts, the same mix of vulnerability and humor that made strangers like her. Her words are not a suicide note, they are a young person trying to be brave. This is the part that hurts to look at. In a different city, on a different roof, the same facts might have produced less noise. But the Cecil is a character with lines of its own. It sits beside Skid Row like the edge of a coin. Its history is a list people repeat when they need to convince themselves that pattern equals fate. The building's management releases statements in the careful cadence of lawyers. The new owners, years later, will rebrand and remodel and invite a future that does not include the elevator clip. Memory will RSVP anyway. If you want a clean answer, this is the wrong case. If you want a plausible one, you can have it. A young traveler experiencing a mental health crisis finds her way to the roof by fire escape, or a door that didn't haunt alarm. Climbs a short ladder in a moment none of us will ever be able to inhabit. Slips into a tank that will not let her climb out. The hatch is open when she falls. The lid stays open, because gravity does not care about dignity. The water takes the rest. It's not satisfying, it's not cinematic, it's only awful. But because we are human, we keep looking for a hand where there may only be a hinge. Weeks after the discovery, the internet treats the case like a choose-your-own ending. Some swear a staff member with a master key escorted her. They produce no name, only a feeling. Others argue a tenant followed her. They produce a rumor shaped like evidence. A subset wants the Cecil to be haunted because haunted is easier than negligent. The family, meanwhile, asks for privacy and gets the opposite. If you line up the facts like tiles, the picture resists resolution. The elevator clip is strange because it records a mind struggling and a machine obeying logic. The roof is reachable because cities are built for maintenance more than for safety. The hatch can be open if someone opened it and neglected to close it, or if the last person to inspect it left it that way because nothing bad had ever happened before. The tank is climbable out of with a ladder welded to the interior, unless the water level is below the rungs, and the steel walls are slick with condensation. Panic shortens arms, cold lengthens minutes. Hypothermia narrows choices, until the only one left is to stop making them. The coroner's mention of bipolar disorder as a significant condition becomes a lightning rod. Some hear blame in it, others hear compassion. In forensic language, it is context, a variable that can increase risk-taking, impair judgment, or magnify fear when medication is missed. Elisa wrote publicly about depression and hypomania and the hope of medication regimes that work until they dawn. The kindest reading of her story is the truest. She was managing an illness, not defined by it. The elevator doors that wouldn't close have an explanation many ignore because mystery is more fun. On some Otis panels, the door hold or service function can keep doors open roughly 2 minutes. If you press multiple floors quickly, some controllers queue requests and wait. If you are frightened and press low buttons first, you might trigger a behavior you don't expect. The building won't argue back, it will just wait. That is what machines are best at. The roof alarm's reliability remains a knot. Staff testify it was working. Others who lived there say they climbed out at night without hearing a siren. Both can be histories. Alarms are only as honest as their maintenance. A single unplugged contact, a taped reed switch during a repair, a breaker thrown and not reset. Any of these can turn a deterrent into a decoration. By the time anyone checks, the state that mattered is gone. There is a quieter conversation, eclipsed by theatrics, about design. Water tanks on accessible roofs without locked hasps, hatches that are heavy but unlatched, fire escapes within easy reach of guest floors. These are not crimes, they are choices that assume a world where nothing unexpected happens. After this case, some building managers add padlocks, signage, and door contacts tied to panels someone actually watches. These changes do not make news, they are a kind of mercy. Years later, a streaming documentary will remix the footage and the forums and give the building the role it keeps auditioning for. Some viewers will accept the official finding, others will leave convinced that a hand pushed what gravity would have pulled. The maintenance worker's open hatch sentence will be asked to carry too much. The detective no evidence of foul play will be dismissed as laziness by people who have never written a report that might be read in court. There is a smaller truth under the big story. The internet took a woman's worst hour and made it permanent. Strangers annotated her gestures, speculated about her medication, projected villains into the gap just off camera where sometimes there is only air. The family had to watch the world argue about their daughter as if she were a puzzle, not a person. If you do one kind thing after this episode, let it be this. When you see the clip again, say her name like you are introducing a friend, not summoning a ghost. The last fact is the first one. She died by drowning. The mechanism is simple. The path is not. You can live in the space between those sentences for a long time if you need to. Many do. Imagine the minutes no camera saw. A window swings out onto black iron. A shoe tests a rung. Air moves around you with the impersonal confidence of a city at night. You climb because the fear behind you is louder than the fear ahead. The platform under the tanks hums with the building's mechanical heart. A rectangular hatch waits with its small lip. You lift. It scrapes. You pause to breathe. You see water that reflects nothing. You make a decision that will not look like a decision to anyone else later. The lid stops mattering. Or imagine another version. The roof door, unarmed that night, opens with a push. You cross with the certain unsteadiness of someone whose chemistry has gone sideways. The hatch was left open after a maintenance check because nothing bad had happened before. You sit on the lip to look, to listen, to cool your face, to argue with a thought. The argument ends. Or imagine the version the internet prefers, a second set of shoes, a key, a malicious hand. If that happened, it left no credible trace, no prints that shouldn't be there, no witness willing to be known, no digital shadow. Homicide is bad at staying invisible for long, especially in a building full of doors that creak with memory. The detectives who worked this did not find a villain. The story may not have one. So what do you do with a case that refuses to give you either the satisfaction of conspiracy or the comfort of perfect sense? You honor the person And you fix the doors. You add locks to the lids. You wire alarms to panels that someone actually watches. You train staff to treat strange behavior as a flag for care, not just a reason to move a guest to a different bed. You talk about mental health like weather. It changes. We prepare. We check on each other when storms roll in. If you are making a video, as we are, you resist the urge to invent villains when uncertainty will do. You let the elevator footage be what it is, the last moving picture of a young woman whose mind and a machine disagreed about how long a door should stay open. You don't choreograph her hands into a code. You don't insist on edits you can't prove. You don't call a building cursed when it is only old. You let the official ruling stand, even if your heart prefers the word that came later in a different case. Undetermined. Here, the certificate says, accidental drowning. The rest is a chorus of maybes. Elisa Lam was not a ghost story. She was funny, articulate, hungry for a version of adulthood that felt true. She wrote about books and uncertainty, and a brain that sometimes walked ahead of her. She planned to keep traveling. In another timeline, she did. In this one, we have 2 minutes of tape, a roof, a tank, and a family who has to live with the shape of a loss strangers keep redrawing. So we end with the only questions worth asking out loud, the ones the comment section knows by heart. Do you think she found the roof by ladder or by door? Do you think the hatch was already open? Do you think the elevator's patience was a button, a malfunction, or a metaphor? Do you think an accident can be both true and unbearable? If you have a theory, leave it respectfully. If you have a heart, leave a kindness for the next person whose worst moment might become a headline. If you ever design a door, make it harder to open by accident and easier to alarm on purpose. This is Case 13. Tomorrow, another story. Tonight, a prayer for a traveler who wanted the world and got a building instead.